It was a rainy evening in the small town of Havenburg when Emma found herself standing beneath the old stone bridge. The rain had drenched her coat, yet she didn't move. This was the place where she and Daniel used to meet after school, a quiet corner of the world where secrets were whispered and laughter lingered like sunlight. Years had passed since Daniel had left for the city. He promised to come back, but letters had become fewer until they stopped altogether. Still, Emma returned to the bridge every year on the same day, hoping time might bring him back. That night, as the rain slowed, footsteps echoed softly behind her. She turned, half believing it was just her imagination. But there he was, Daniel, a little older, with tired eyes that still held the warmth she remembered. "You waited," he said softly, as though testing the weight of the words. Emma's heart trembled. "I told you I would." He stepped closer, hesitant, almost afraid. "I wanted to come back sooner, but life kept pulling me away. Not a day passed without me thinking of you." The years of silence, the distance, the unspoken questions, all melted in that moment. Emma saw not the boy she once loved but the man who had carried her in his heart despite everything. Without thinking, she reached out and touched his hand. It was warm, real, steady. "You're here now," she whispered. And under the bridge, with rain still dripping from its stones, Daniel drew her into his arms. The world was quiet, save for the soft rhythm of two hearts finally beating in the same place again. For the first time in years, Emma no longer waited. She had found him, and in that embrace, she knew love had never left. The last train home. It was a rainy evening in the city when Emma missed her bus. With nothing else to do, she rushed into the old train station, hoping to catch the last ride home. The platform was nearly empty except for one man sitting on a bench, reading. His name was Daniel. He looked up as she entered, water dripping from her umbrella, and their eyes met for just a second. Something in that glance felt strangely familiar, as if they had met somewhere before. Emma sat a few seats away, trying not to stare, but curiosity won. "Is this the train to Greenhill?" she asked. Daniel smiled, closing his book. "Yes. You're safe. It's the last one tonight." His voice was calm, reassuring. When the train arrived, they boarded and, without planning, ended up sitting across from each other. The ride was quiet at first, the sound of rain tapping against the windows. Slowly, words began to flow, about books, music, the little things they noticed in life. They discovered they both loved late-night walks and the smell of rain on old streets. Minutes turned into an hour. Emma found herself laughing more than she had in months, and Daniel's eyes never seemed to leave hers. It felt like the kind of conversation that didn't need an end. When the train finally reached Greenhill, they stepped off together. The rain had softened to a drizzle, the street lamps glowing in the mist. "I don't usually talk this much with strangers," Emma admitted. Daniel chuckled. "Maybe we're not strangers anymore." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then, gently, he asked, "Would you like to have coffee tomorrow?" Emma's heart skipped. She nodded, smiling under the dim light. "Yes, I'd like that." As the train pulled away behind them, both knew it wasn't just chance. Sometimes, love doesn't arrive with fireworks, it arrives quietly, on the last train home. The promise in the rain. The rain had always reminded Claire of endings, wet streets, closed umbrellas, and the quiet ache of goodbyes. That night, as she hurried across the nearly empty square, she didn't expect to see him again. Daniel. He stood under the dim glow of a street lamp, his hair damp, his coat darkened by the rain. The sight of him brought back years she had carefully tucked away, unspoken words, missed calls, the heartbreak of distance. Claire, he said softly, as if afraid her name might vanish with the mist. She froze, her heart racing. Daniel, what are you doing here? I promised you once, he whispered, that no matter how far we drifted, I'd find my way back. His eyes searched hers, desperate, hopeful. She wanted to be angry. She wanted to remind him of the nights she had waited, of the silence that had stretched between them like an ocean. Yet all she could feel was the thundering of her heart and the warmth in his gaze that hadn't changed. You left, she said, her voice trembling. And I learned how to live without you. I know, he admitted. And I hated myself for it. But Claire, not a day passed that I didn't think of you. The rain fell harder, soaking them both. People hurried past, but the world seemed to shrink until there was only the two of them. She took a step closer, torn between fear and longing. And what if I can't forgive you? Then I'll stay here, Daniel said, rain dripping from his lashes. I'll wait as long as it takes. Because loving you was never the mistake, leaving you was. Claire's breath caught. She had rehearsed so many endings for their story, but not this. Not him standing in the rain with his heart unguarded. Slowly, she lifted her hand, brushing the wet strands from his forehead. He closed his eyes at her touch, as if it was the only thing keeping him alive. Maybe, she whispered, her voice softer than the rain, we don't need to start where we left off. Maybe we can begin again. When he opened his eyes, they shone brighter than the streetlight above. And as he pulled her into his arms, the rain no longer felt like an ending. It felt like a promise, one they would keep this time. A chance in the rain. The city was drenched in rain the first time Emma saw Daniel. She was standing under the awning of a bookstore, hugging her coat tighter as the wind pushed droplets onto her cheeks. He appeared suddenly, rushing across the street without an umbrella, hair plastered to his forehead, a grin tugging at his lips as though the storm was his secret companion. Their eyes met for only a moment, just long enough for Emma to feel her heartbeat stumble. Daniel stopped at the same awning, shaking the water from his jacket. Quite the storm, he said, breathless. Emma smiled, tucking a strand of wet hair behind her ear. It feels like it's never going to end. He laughed, the sound warm despite the chill in the air. Sometimes the best things come when you least expect them, like storms. Or, strangers you meet because of them. The conversation was effortless. They spoke about books, travel dreams, and the little things that made them happy. Rain hammered the pavement around them, but beneath that small awning, the world felt still. When the downpour eased, Daniel offered to walk her home. She hesitated, then nodded. That evening turned into many more. Coffee shops, late-night walks, and countless conversations stitched their lives together. Emma discovered that Daniel had a quiet strength, a way of listening that made her feel truly seen. Daniel found in Emma a spark, someone who believed in beauty even in ordinary moments. One autumn night, as golden leaves fell around them, Daniel stopped in the middle of the park path. His voice was soft but certain. Emma, ever since that day in the rain, my life has felt brighter. I don't want to just be a passing chapter in your story. I want to be all the pages. Her heart swelled, tears blurring the lights of the city behind him. She took his hand, smiling through the rush of emotions. Then let's write it together. And so, what began as a chance meeting under a storm became the beginning of a love that felt as endless as the rain that first brought them together. The Promise Beneath the Stars. Emma had always loved the quiet charm of her small coastal town. Every evening, she would walk to the pier, where the sea stretched endlessly under a blanket of stars. It was there that she first met Daniel, a traveler with a worn-out backpack and a smile that seemed to carry 1,000 stories. Their conversations began simply, about the ocean, about books, about the little bakery on Main Street. But as the days turned into weeks, Emma realized she was falling for him, not because he was extraordinary, but because he made ordinary moments feel extraordinary. One night, under the silver glow of the moon, Daniel confessed he would have to leave soon. His work took him across the world, and staying was never part of his plan. Emma's heart ached, but she listened quietly as he promised, "If the stars align, I'll come back for you." Time passed. Seasons changed. Letters arrived less frequently, then stopped altogether. Emma carried on, but every evening she still visited the pier, whispering her feelings into the ocean breeze, hoping he would somehow hear. Years later, on a summer evening much like the one when they first met, Emma stood by the pier once more. She almost didn't notice the man walking toward her until she heard a familiar voice. "Emma," Daniel said softly, his eyes reflecting the same warmth she remembered. "I kept my promise." Tears welled in her eyes, and before she could speak, he took her hands. "I've traveled the world, but nowhere felt like home, except here, with you." And as the stars shimmered above them, Emma realized love